Donald Trump organized them with the intention of them rioting. That's just not accurate.
Oh my God.
There's
he's the one that called them there to protest. He knows that, right? He knows that they were there because of Donald Trump, that Donald Trump was the one that called them there to protest. Does he not
there's
that?
no like
reasonable to be suspicious does not mean rejecting all evidence to the contrary. Like, it's fair to have reasonable suspicion, but that opinion has to change when you're presented with all this evidence to the contrary, as happened in the 2020 election.
Alex Jones was inciting people. Nick Fuentes was inciting people.
Alex Jones was telling people, do
Clearly
not
paid by
cross
the
this
deep state.
barrier. They're tricking you into doing this. Don't do it. He was literally standing outside saying, don't go in, don't go in, don't go in.
At one point,
let's watch the InfoWars reporting on the day of Jan 6 and see what they were saying.
Tucker Carlson did the expose with all the full breadth of footage from the January 6th, and he was
the full breadth of footage. Did he? Was it really the full breadth of footage though, or did he very specifically only show a very, very literally less than 1% of the footage to misleadingly paint a picture of what happened?
Tucker Carlson did not give you the full breadth of footage. Tucker Carlson gave you a heavily edited, like 2-minute splice of him being led to the Senate chambers once the building was already broken into.
I saw the MAGA guy here seemed to be totally unprepared for this conversation. So it should be pretty interesting. We're gonna check it out and then we'll go back to reading after.
You're comfortable with them stripping Rudy Giuliani of his law license?
Rudy Giuliani should go to jail. He went in front of multiple state legislatures and he lied. He went in front of the country and he lied. Yes. He fed into one of the largest lies that's been told. 80% of Republicans, probably you included, still think that the 2020 election was a...
And not only did he lie, he like acted on those lies. He tried to press your state legislators into not certifying the election. I think it was him who called the secretary of or not, it wasn't the secretary, it was the Speaker of the House in Arizona and tried to get him to not certify, I think it was her, tried to get her not to certify the results of the election.
Fraud because of lies that he helped.
And he absolutely, like, even if, like, let's say, like, Eastman or whoever, like, did not commit a crime, Eastman and Giuliani, they absolutely failed in their ethical obligations to Donald Trump. The most good faith interpretation of what Giuliani and Eastman did, and Chesbro too, Kenneth Chesbro, it was failing in their ethical obligation to tell Trump that this is a crackpot legal theory. Greg Jacobs wrote a good memo on that. Or wrote a good op-ed on that. Yeah.
And he admitted that in court when he was finally sued on these things. He said, "Yeah, I lied, but it's my First Amendment right to lie."
I couldn't tell you a single thing about any of the stuff that Rudy Giuliani has said.
Well, but you have a strong opinion about him being disbarred.
I have not been fed misinformation because I don't look into any of these things. Central bankers that are behind literally.
Oh, awesome! Oh, central bankers. I'll design as central bankers.
Every single thing that happens that's negative about Trump. I'll pose a counter vision of what happened on January 6th. So
you acknowledge the very first people in were people that broke through the windows. We can watch videos on it if you want.
I don't acknowledge that because I don't know.
And how do you have any opinion about this at all?
They were protesting that they were going to certify the election results where they
to stop the steal. What does that mean? Are you familiar with, like, say, like the Elector plot?
What?
Like, let's say that was true.
A dragon could have come and landed on the Capitol if we're just talking about like make-believe hypotheticals.
Well, every single thing I just said is like beyond verified true. Like, it's not, nobody even contests this.
People like Destiny. You know, I watch that guy and he makes me just want to vomit because he sounds smart. He obviously has a raging drug problem. Okay, that guy is eating no food. He is eating lots of uppers. True. And he thinks he's smart because he talks a lot. He's got his brains going brrr. Kick that guy off of his drug.
By the way, just as a heads up, and I know this because of conservative friends I have in the industry, all of these guys do coke like crazy. There's a reason why they're so quick to jump to this. It took me a long time to learn this a long time ago when when Zerka would always accuse me of doing whatever, like Adderall or whatever. I didn't realize at the time, like 5 or 6 years ago, that so many different streamers abused amphetamines too. But yeah, this guy is a druggie, 1,000,000,000%. He's that keen to protect it. Absolutely.
Amphetamines.
Binge or whatever, you know, like she's probably on prescription, you know. It's probably just smashing Adderall like it's his job. Take that away and see how smart he sounds, you know? It's very obvious.
Like, it's so funny, like these guys that are new to the scene that, yep, that's me. I just appeared 8 months ago. Yeah, wasn't here before.
Now you have my full attention.
All right. Do you remember what or do you want to start? Go for it.
Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, we could just start with, I guess we could start with like what I said in the video that I saw that you wanted, well, you were responding to. Essentially the point that I've been making, actually, I guess my central thesis about everything related to the world now is that there's been like a gravitational atomic bomb that got thrown into every single issue now, which is Trump. And from my seat, basically the way that I assess whether or not someone's opinion is one that I should, listen hard to see if I've missed something, because I change my mind all the time. And
Yeah, probably.
I watched you with Jordan
but...
Peterson. I thought that was a great conversation. But from my perspective, you're one of these guys, like there's a few of you guys where I can just recognize it's like objective, Trump, brain broken. And it's like where you guys attribute this like cartoon character villain to him. And like the way that I look at all of this stuff is if you can't understand a person's driving force, why they do things, and then ultimately what the thought process was behind an action that they take, you can't really understand what even happened.
Clearly,
so if you make an
honestly thought
incorrect
that he
assumption
lost the
about
election.
what a person's intentions were, then every single fact that you're going to look at subsequent to that is going to support an incorrect conclusion. Is that fair? That like if you don't understand, or
Yeah, I agree.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
And like with Trump, I know so many people now that actually know him, because like a history of my kind of relationship to Trump politically was in 2016. I was appalled that he was president. I couldn't even wrap my brain around it. I was like, I saw it as like an institution that is sacred to the country and all of that stuff. I'm like, you can't just throw people into a role like that. But what I saw after that, as he, started to figure out the job, is that there was this other thing happening.
Did he ever really figure it
and
out?
he started to look a lot more presidential to me while he was in the seat.
Part of the reason he didn't really succeed with the Jan 6 stuff is because he didn't really understand the job, and he started acting too late. He probably could have done more things, like to schedule off appointments. If he did those early in his term, he probably could have gotten a lot further with his plots.
And then simultaneously, as we're watching like all of the million different actions that were being taken against him at the same time, I'm like, oh, okay, so there's like this really big thing that's incredibly dishonest and very dangerous to the system, much more dangerous than him. And so like I can guarantee that you and I could look at an identical set of facts, and if Trump is involved, we will have diametrically opposite conclusions. And it's probably for the same reason, except in reverse, where you see Trump as a cartoon villain, which I know is not true because I know so many people who actually know him personally. And I will most likely make a conclusion that there is a group of, central bankers that are behind literally every single thing that happens that's negative about Trump. And I'll be right like 70% of the time. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Okay. I mean, if you want, we can play this game. I can ascribe my internal drive to him. You can ascribe your internal drive to him. And then we can just look at different scenarios and we can see whose offers the greater explanation.
Let's do it.
Yeah, mine is pretty simple. I think that Trump is a raging narcissist. I think that everything he does is in the service of himself. I'll say that. I think it's a very simple thing. Everything he does is in the service of his ego and to make himself feel better and more hyped up on himself, and that's it. What do you think is the driving force behind him?
Well, I think everybody's driving force in most cases is themselves in one way or another, in terms of like, there are people who dedicate a lot of time to charity. Even that is to make themselves feel better, or feel good. What I see from Trump is, I think that what he wants more than anything else in the world is he wants to be loved, and he wants to be loved universally, and he can't get enough of it. It's like the more people give him positive energy, the better it is for him.
That's kind of being like egotistical or narcissistic is.
Like people ascribe malice to the things that he's doing, like he's like some kind of dictator tyrant after power. And all I care about is how has he done.
Wait, do you think this guy watches The Boys and is like, Homelander just wants to be loved?
How has he approached the job of being president? Who is he thinking about as he's proposing policies, and ultimately why? And what I see is he wants to earn the love of the people who are in this country by delivering good outcomes for him. That's literally exactly what I see. Now, it might be due to some kind of like hysterical narcissism where he like needs to be adored and loved, but I don't give a fuck about that. Like if what he is actually doing to try to earn that is going to end up driving good results for citizens in the country, then that's good. That's aces with me. I assume all these politicians are in the head.
Okay, I mean, I think Trump is significantly more than the other ones. I think he's significantly more narcissistic than the other ones. I think that people have different leveled interests in terms of being interested in the benefit of their political party, or in the benefit of the United States, or in the benefit of her citizens. And I think there's a difference between that and just doing things just to benefit yourself. But I feel like you're saying that he wants to be loved universally. I feel like that's a bit reductive, because I guess you're saying like even if he's doing charity, he's doing it because he wants to be loved. So I don't know how different our predictions are going to be there, because it kind of sounds like we're using a similar internal drive. I guess.
So even if he's even in your case, if he's a narcissist that's trying to serve himself, what is he trying to accomplish?
He's trying to better his own reputation, even if it's at the expense of the United States. That's the issue. I want to present what's the country first, not himself first.
See, I see it exactly opposite. I think that he wants to. I think he does want to cement his legacy and his reputation, but I see it as that he plans and is trying to do that through improving circumstances and lives in the United States.
Okay.
I mean, if like when I look at like, well, let me ask you this actually. What is your viewpoint on the way that the system seems to attack anyone who's around him? Like the people they're throwing in jail.
I think he surrounds himself with a lot of really bad people.
Why are they trying to do that?
All of them.
I wonder.
A lot of them, yeah.
Like you're comfortable with them stripping Rudy Giuliani of his law license in New York?
Rudy Giuliani should go to jail. Yeah. Absolutely.
See, that's what I'm saying. This is exactly what I'm talking about. That's where, like, from a base perspective, it's like same exact situations. You and I will see it differently because. So here's how I think that the entire system.
Let's go on Rudy Giuliani. Okay. So we don't have to dive into every single thing, but we'll do one particular thing. Okay. So Rudy Giuliani, as part of Trump's whole election fraud thing, he made claims about ballot counting and video camera footage, you know, like in Georgia, right? Giuliani made very specific claims, especially revolving around a lady called Ruby Freeman. He was
ballot boxes or boxes of ballots under the tables. I saw the video.
Yeah. That came from him. Okay. So the video was heavily edited. All the claims about Ruby were false. She took him to civil court afterwards to sue him for defamation. He admitted in civil court that he lied, but it was his First Amendment right to, and he lost that case for $147 million. If he's an attorney representing somebody, you don't think this is grounds for disbarring someone?
I don't know whether or not first of all, I have no idea whether or not those the videos are real or not. That's the world I live in. Is someone can take Rudy Giuliani to court, say that he was, that he heavily edited these and so on and so forth. And I still don't feel like I have even a moderate handle on whether that's true or not. Because the way that I see all of this is that the powers that are behind the effort to,
and even if he didn't admit to that it being a lie, honestly, him admitting to it being a lie is probably like the least convincing evidence that it is a lie. Because we have like the full video, like they literally, like the fucking the Georgia election people like invited news agencies to say, hey, report on the full video. We have the full video here. We have like the ballots being placed under the tables before. It's not like they were shipped in from some back room or anything. Like
credit, slander, and ultimately prevent Trump from attaining power again are literally the most powerful people in the entire world, to where, like, Dominion, I don't know shit about
wait, one thing nothing. We'll do one thing at a time. Okay. So the reason why you feel that way is because people like Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump are trying to make you feel that way.
Yep. No, the reason I feel that way is because for 3 years, you got to remember, dude, I was on your team initially.
No, you were not. I promise.
I hated Trump.
I don't hate Trump. I just hate everything he stands for. I don't hate him because I hate Trump. I believe very much in American values and American institutions and American democracy and what this country is supposed to stand for. These are the reasons I don't like Trump. Not if you support Trump. If you support Trump, you are fundamentally un-American and don't believe in American values. For reasons we can get into in a bit. But if you want, real quick, it's absolutely true. If you want, I shot you a link on Twitter. I don't know how much of this you want to run through, but I can explain it to you also if you want. But
we don't need to go through it.
Okay.
This is what I'm saying is, like, any of these things where we get into the facts is like the way that I look at guys, specifically you, Sam Harris, Bill Maher, guys who I think are smart, excellent at structuring arguments, great at debating, walk people into traps, very good at
You're describing what Rudy Giuliani has done to people like you. Is good at structuring arguments and walking people into traps.
I literally I couldn't tell you a single thing about any of the stuff that Rudy Giuliani has said.
Well, but you have a strong opinion about him being disbarred, and I'm telling you that he said that he lied about Ruby Freeman, and he did. You can watch their original presentation to the Georgia Senate. You can see where they skip at 20 minutes in the video to hide the fact where the ballots are put underneath that table, because I already know what video you've seen. It was the one that was published by OAN. You think you've seen a video of ballots being pulled mysteriously under a table.
Oh, I have no idea what the video is that I saw.
Okay, I know which one it is because I
know what the video is, but I don't.
Just woke up. Well, welcome back.
Whatever impression you have of
yeah, my sleep schedule's a little bit teeny weeny fucked. Just a little.
Whatever this kind of massive group of people that you think are like Trumpers or whatever, and how they interpret information, I promise I don't fall into those boxes.
Well, then why do you think it's bad that Giuliani might be disbarred?
Because the guy he's the mayor of New York.
So
the guy put the entire New York mafia in prison. And no one ever broke his balls about anything until he started standing next to Trump.
Maybe when he was doing the RICO stuff and putting people in prison, maybe he wasn't breaking the law then, or acting in unlawyerly conduct. Maybe he did do that under Trump. Is that possible?
Are we going to pretend that we live in a world where high-powered individuals just get prosecuted for things that they may or may not have done that's bad? That's the whole point. Is like they convicted Trump of a 34-count.
What does that even? Are we going to pretend like we live in a world where high-powered individuals may or may not prosecute people?
Wasn't breaking the law then, or acting in unlawyerly conduct? Maybe he did do that under Trump. Is that possible?
Are we going to pretend that we live in a world where high-powered individuals just get prosecuted for things that they may or may not have done that's bad? That's
high-powered individuals just get prosecuted for things they may or may not have done. I mean, like, Trump is, I think he's the only former president to be criminally indicted, right? Like, isn't this this is the whole like evidence for him being like fucking persecuted or whatever, or the Democrats are basically prosecuting him. I don't even.
That's the whole point. It's like they convicted Trump of 34-count
indictment. I know.
34
just stay on Giuliani, just one thing at a time.
But it's the same thing.
It's not.
Exactly
well, it is the same thing. You've been fed misinformation, and you want to think that everything is the same as everything else. And so,
I haven't been. What I'm telling you is, I have not been fed misinformation because I don't look into any of these things strongly. I look at the outcomes and I go, oh, all right. So, you know, I know about this story, this story, this story. None of them faced any.
Yeah, I don't look into claims. I don't do my research. Why? This is the first time I've ever seen someone brag about that. Usually people try to hide it, but okay.
Whatsoever. But this guy's standing next to Trump, whether he did anything wrong or not, they will try to destroy him, bankrupt him, ruin his reputation, take away his law license, and literally leave him rotting in a cell if that's what, you know, they decide to do. Like,
he deserves it, though. He lied. He went in front of.
Does he think there's never situations where you can deserve that, or you can deserve to be disbarred or put into prison? Like,
multiple state legislatures, and he lied. He went in front of the country and he lied. He fed into one of the largest lies that's been told. 80% of Republicans, probably you included, still think that the 2020 election was a fraud because of lies that he helped perpetuate. And he admitted that in court.
I don't know whether the 2020 election was a fraud because I don't look into it, but I see the outcome of it and I see that people are upset. And
when he was finally sued on these things,
he said,
misinformed I lied, but it's my First Amendment right to lie. And he lost those cases. Like, it's all a lie. But you think that it's all the same in your mind for no reason, though. Why?
It is all the same. It is all the same. Like, on Rudy Giuliani, again, I haven't even looked. I know none of this stuff.
But you have an opinion on it. You think it's wrong that he's being disbarred.
I think it's an example of something that is happening constantly to anybody who is around Trump.
Maybe a lot of them. Maybe Trump surrounds himself with bad people and liars because Trump is a bad person and liar.
Incredibly powerful people who are leveraging every institutional way that they can bring the government, the legal system down on a person that they do not want in the presidency. And maybe, you know,
I wonder which one of these is more likely.
Did nothing but pump out and continue to.
What you're describing, what you're describing is what Trump does. He tries to take down everybody that he doesn't like. He's threatened every single Republican lawmaker who doesn't buy into his agenda. He'll say, "We're not going to help you in your reelection." He said it on the call to Raffensperger. I was a schmuck for helping Kemp win his election in Georgia. He threatened Fox News. That's why they started to run all the Dominion bullshit from Sidney Powell, is because Trump said he's not going to go on Fox News anymore. He's attacking them now because they're not. Remember after they called Arizona and he started going off on Fox? Like, Trump does everything that you're describing. Every single thing you're describing is what he does. That's his playbook. But you're pretending that the Democrats do it.
I'm not talking to Democrats. I don't see the world as Democrats, Republicans. I think that is the mechanism that the people who actually run the world use to ensure that they have vice script control over anyone who's going to sit in any type of office that can pull strings globally.
That's
I think that Trump slipped in the back door because they thought he couldn't beat Hillary Clinton. He won, and they were like, "What the fuck? He won't listen to anybody. He's doing things his own way because he's Trump." They start wigging out. They're like, "We need to get this guy the fuck out of here." And the way that I ended up changing my mind and deciding that the bigger kind of threat to what I see as American values, America in general, which is I see America as the citizens of the country. That's all I see America as, is when I listened to, I literally watched and read every single thing about the Russia collusion case for 3 years, literally for 3 years.
Oh, but he's informed in that, I guess.
He's finished. Like, he is going to get buried. And knowing at the same time that if the conclusion of this investigation that Mueller's putting together is not him being indicted for the things that they're saying, then there is a completely different world that we live in. Because MSNBC has been saying this as facts. If even like,
how do you feel about? Well, let's say that's true. Then how do you feel about the fact that nothing came out of Hillary's emails?
You mean Hillary's acid wash server? You mean?
Yeah, you mean like Trump's campaign party, his association with Roger Stone, who was associated with the person who hacked Hillary's DNC email server, the Guccifer 2.0. I mean, we can both play that game. But I'm asking you, did you feel the same way? Did you feel the same level of resentment when nothing came out of all the Hillary stuff as you did out of the Trump stuff?
Wait, the level of resentment. Well, the Hillary stuff is that she had a private server, and when it got subpoenaed, she acid washed it as opposed to turn it in. Hillary Clinton is the scariest person ever.
Didn't she delete it before they? Isn't the whole issue like she fucking acid washed it before they subpoenaed her or whatever? Like,
literally.
Oops.
the last enemy out of. I have respect for her. She's probably one of the most powerful women to ever live, but she is a vindictive, incredibly powerful person that I even get nervous talking about her too much on the internet. But she had a private server where who knows what's on it. I don't like to speculate, but she acid washed it as opposed to turn it into the people who are trying to investigate her. It's pretty gangster that she could do that and not face any consequences. But the hacked emails,
Gangster
I mean,
Hillary, hell yeah.
I don't know. Like, they'd be pretty stupid to be talking about any kind of like nefarious criminal stuff through a server that's shared by her entire campaign.
Okay, well, I'm not even sure what to say. I think it's incredibly sad that I feel like half the country, you included, has just been completely wiped away by the Trump brainwashing stuff. You're just factually completely ungrounded. You're off in outer space right now in terms of like the things that you believe. We can go through any individual particular case if you want. I can talk to you about the entire Hillary thing from start to finish. I can talk to you about how there are standard procedures to wipe servers, including the destruction of devices. I can talk to you about how you don't even care about the fact that she had a private email server, because I bet you've never talked about the fact that Donald Trump and his people were using private phones and emails, but Republicans never care when it happened. I mean, we can go through any one of these things in detail if you want, and I promise you will be wrong on every single thing, but it's up to you what you have the patience for.
I guarantee that regardless of what topic that we talk about, if Trump is involved, your conclusion will always be the same. Like, whether you know this about yourself or not, this is a fact. If Trump jaywalked in New York and a person got hit by a car across the street, Attorney General filed aggravated manslaughter charges against Trump because he's a famous person and he should have known that if he crossed the street without using the sidewalk, that people could get killed. So that's what we're doing. You would be on here supporting an aggravated manslaughter charge because the dude jaywalked. That's you hate him. Like, you guys hate him. And if you say you don't hate him, I disagree with you.
I mean, I think he's un-American, and I think he's a threat to the order of the United States. Like, I think he's historically bad for the country, and I think that he's bad for what this country represents. I think that people like you have a greater allegiance to Trump than any part of the United States.
That's a ridiculous. You know nothing about my politics at all. That's completely not true. That's just fundamentally not true at all.
Okay.
He does have Trump sneakers in the background, and he is. I guess he's too uninformed. He had to. I mean, again, the issue is he has opinions, but he apparently chooses to not be informed of these things. But I feel like when he's saying central bankers are behind everything, evil central bankers are behind everything bad about Trump. We kind of know a little bit about your politics. We know what type of person you may be.
At all.
Do you think that,
I'll give you an example of here's how I see America. Perfect example. Brittany Griner is arrested in Russia, and you have a lot of conservative retards that are like, let him have her. I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? She's an American, and she's in a Russian gulag, and she's being held as a political prisoner. She's American. Like, we can argue about whether her views are stupid or not when she gets home, but I will always have her back because she's American, and she's being held, again, as a political pawn in Russia. Like, to me,
what race
Americans
of bankers?
are
I know,
America.
Yeah, I wonder.
And what I'm saying is, like,
he has not used the words,
and I'm sure you're
yet.
sick of talking about the firemen, but like, this is your guys' issue. Is you've attributed so much villainy to Trump that a thing like a father firefighter, a guy who goes fishing on Saturday, a guy who doubles as a church cleric or whatever, can be at a rally with his family having a good time, and a minute later he can get shot in the face, and his daughters actually see their father's blown up corpse in front of them, and it makes sense to you that guy is not worthy of empathy because he was a Trump supporter, not any of those other things. That's what I'm talking about. Is like, when people say the Trump derangement syndrome thing, that's what they're talking about.
Trump supporters have spent their entire lives of Trump in office, the past 8 years, making fun of or going after George Floyd, BLM victims, anyway, Paul Pelosi. That guy, yeah, he tweeted out some dumb shit as well. Yeah, about the Japanese will get over
I wonder if this guy's informed on George Floyd, or if he has not looked into it. So he doesn't know whether or not George Floyd died of fentanyl or a neck compression. He doesn't know. He just doesn't know.
The fucking nuclear bombs. I would save Putin over 3 other like Democratic politicians or whatever. Like,
he deserves to have his face blown up over his daughters.
Deserving to have your face blown up is different than somebody not having sympathy for something happening to him. Those are two different things. Somebody deserves to die at a political rally or anything, obviously. But like, having sympathy for a side that has continued to ratchet up the temperature
and
lead to the destruction of the country.
It's a dude. It's a single dude. That's what I'm saying. I do not see the world like you. It has nothing to do with Trump or whatever. If Trump disappeared tomorrow, my view of America would be identical. Like, to me, that's an American father who is at a rally with his daughters, who tried to save his kids, and he got murdered in front of his kids. I have 3 daughters. I don't even think I could accurately describe the level of trauma that would lead. It would destroy their lives. It would destroy my children's lives, these innocent little babies. If that was something that they saw, that's the end of their father getting his face blown up on top of them. And it's like, if you can't find empathy in that, like, where you're like, man, I mean, it means you've dehumanized the supporters, and you keep saying like this side. He's a guy. Like he's just a guy who probably just watches a different channel than you do.
Yeah, it's not just watching a different channel. Like your side is involved in the destruction of this country, like the actual
80 million,
destruction of this country. Yes, however many people are supporting Donald Trump, who is an un-American, treasonous president. Yes, are leading to like the destruction of this country. Yes, absolutely.
And the 80 million people on this side see the identical situation on the other side.
Yeah, but the difference is those
yeah,
people
but
are
I'm
idiots.
right, they're wrong.
I would say the same
true.
in reverse.
I know you would, but the difference between you and me is if you want to dive into the facts of any of these particular things, I will gladly do it, but you'll avoid it like the plague. Of course, you don't want to talk about what Rudy Giuliani was involved in, because if you did, you'd have to admit that there's a really good reason to disbar him. And of course,
I wouldn't get into a fact-based conversation about any of this stuff because I already know your opinion, and I'm sure that you have.
It's
lots
not
of
about
facts
my opinion. It's just the facts of the case. It's the facts of the matter. It's very simple. You look at the court docs, you can look at the rulings. Like Trump was convicted in front of a jury in New York State. You probably think that was really bad, but I mean, he went through the whole criminal court process and he got convicted. Like,
and you think that was probably on the up and up, given that the judge had donated to the opposing parties.
Oh my God.
Campaign, and then like,
let's say even if that was true, what would the judge donating to the opposing party? How would that lead to a conviction in front of a jury?
If it were a different politician, then maybe we could have that conversation.
Oh, what a great answer to the question.
People's brains break on him.
You keep saying people's brains break, but what I'm telling you is Trump is just a historically terrible person. So of course people don't like him. That's not like only a conservative would see a guy who's surrounded by 10 people who all hate him and go, "Wow, all those 10 people sure are deranged." Like, how does that make sense in your mind?
What 10 people?
You're looking at Donald Trump and you're going, it's crazy that every single person around this guy hates him so much. Like, wow, people sure are deranged about Trump. Maybe Trump is just a loser. Maybe nobody likes him for a good reason.
What I'm telling you is I know people that I trust that know him. And I know people who just met him and spent significant amount of time with him. And all of them have had the exact same thing to say. All of them.
No offense, but like his vice president isn't with him now. He didn't choose the same one, right? Very few people in his old cabinet will even endorse him. He attacked every single person in his administration. Barr quit after giving interviews because he was so tired of Trump lying about the DOJ. Every single major person that's worked with him has not endorsed him and doesn't like him and has turned their back on him and has flipped on him in court. Like, who are all these people? That's great that you have personal friends that might have good opinions about him, but like, this is a historically not liked person by even people in his closest inner circle.
They were all
like, none of these things are red flags.
No, not in comparison to what I see on the other side. What I see on the other side is way scarier. My honest opinion is I think that when Trump got elected and the people who really run the world recognized that they had a vulnerability at the president of the United States where they're like, man, we can't, even though we have historically always controlled the person who's in this office, now we recognize that we have a global vulnerability here. And I think that what their solution has been to slander and try to destroy Trump's life and make sure he never becomes president and simultaneously weaken America to a point where they don't have that vulnerability anymore.
Is there any single thing that you could see or be shown about Trump that would make you think, okay, maybe this guy's not a good guy?
Of course.
Like, what would you have to see? Like, what situation? We can do the Jan 6 stuff if you want. We can do foreign policy if you want. We can do any topic, any individual thing.
There's literally not a person on earth that has any kind of carte blanche with me. Like, I'm not. This is what I'm saying. You see a guy who gets killed as their side. Like, and he likes Trump, so like their side. It's like such a weird. I don't know. Like, I don't even know how to even respond to that. Like, I don't see people as like, oh, that person's a Democrat, and then like that's where like the conversation starts. Like, stops. I find it actually really bizarre that people make decisions about whether or not they like people or want to have them in their life based on what like politician they like. Like, to me, it's as insane as if you week to week watch like Survivor with your neighbor and you're like, oh, I like Rick, and they're like,
okay,
oh, I like Nancy.
We're talking about presidents, okay?
No,
so
I know
we can do okay. On January 6th, Donald Trump watched the Capitol burn for 3 hours, and he sat there and watched it and did nothing until the very, very, very end. He finally sent a tweet telling people to go home. You don't think that was an abdication of his duty? You don't think he was watching his own vice president come under attack? You don't think that
this is what I'm saying. There's no point in us talking about January 6th at all. Like, just
because you're uncomfortable, because you know that the facts don't support
it's not because I'm uncomfortable.
Because Donald Trump
I'll say things, you'll go, that's not factually accurate. You'll say things, I'll be like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but I can prove every single thing I say. There's like 50 million witnesses to every point that I say. All you have is fantasy. Right? You don't have any facts. Okay, what do you think is one thing we would disagree with that I couldn't very easily, instantaneously prove that you would have no evidence for?
I've looked at the Jan 6 stuff. I have looked at, and I've seen the stuff that you talked about. The cops let him in. You've got like videos.
Hold on, you've seen the edited videos of it.
First people, wait, we can do that right there. How do you think the very first people got into the Capitol?
You mean like what was the first attack?
The first people that got into the Capitol building were people that broke in. It was Proud Boys that broke in with a riot shield. That's on video. We can see them breaking in. There are people that have been arrested. I think he actually just got sentenced like yesterday. Breaking into the building. We can watch all of that on video.
Whether or not it's actual people or Antifa dressed up as Trumpers, and then Trumpers come on. The whole thing is like people are not challenged.
Do you see what's happening? I can't tell if you're aware of your own like mind rot right now. You keep pivoting away to these generalized points. Okay, very specifically, the guy that broke in was not Antifa. There was no Antifa there. Multiple people
I'm not saying that,
have said that like these are Trump supporters. It's not Antifa. These are patriots on the day of. The guy that broke in was not Antifa. I can give you the name. I can show you the sentencing. It's not Antifa. None of these people are Antifa.
So you think that there is no reasonable scenario where this was a thing. Like, human beings are not challenging to manipulate. If you have a group of fired up people, it doesn't take a whole lot of people to incite them into doing things if that's what your goal is, in order to give you a reason to get rid of Trump and then take him off social media. They needed a reason to kick him off social media because even if he's not the president, he's still too
The people
loud
that
for
made
them.
plans to do this were the Plan Boys, and they did this over a month in advance. We have all the signal calls.
Plan Boys?
We have all of the group text chats.
He just said
we
the
have
Plan
the
Boys. Yeah, the Proud Boys is what he meant. But
plans that they'd made in advance. Like all
The
of this.
FBI couldn't under oath say that they did not have people in the crowd who were there specifically to instigate.
What does any of that have to do with what we? Why would the FBI ever publicly declare where they have an informant or not have an informant? And what is that? We don't need the FBI there. Donald Trump was inciting people. Alex Jones was inciting people. Nick Fuentes was inciting people.
Alex Jones was telling people, do
Clearly
not
paid by
cross
the
this
deep state.
barrier. They're tricking you into doing this. Don't do it. He was literally standing outside saying, don't go in, don't go in, don't go in.
At one point,
let's watch the InfoWars reporting on the day of Jan 6 and see what they were saying. See that they were saying, I think it literally was InfoWars that said Ashley Babbitt is like the second, or it's the first victim of the Second American Revolution. I'm pretty sure that was the InfoWars reporting on January 6th.
After, when he realized it, like, shit as fuck, yes, but Donald Trump was marching with all of them
going onto the grass.
Alex Jones was there with the loudspeaker marching, walking down to the Capitol with everybody.
Like, walking peacefully down to the Capitol is a lot different than telling people to go inside. And when people started crossing barriers to go onto the grass, he was telling them, don't do it. He saw exactly what was going to happen. Alex Jones is totally batshit, but he's right.
Gay.
A lot.
The very first, do you acknowledge that the very first people that got into the Capitol building, the very first person in was a rioter breaking in, okay, with a riot.
What does that have to do with Trump, though?
Hold on.
I'm not saying
I'm just saying, because you made one claim. You made one claim about how the police let them in. The first people into the Capitol building were people that broke into the Capitol.
What about all the people who got let out of jail when the videos?
What does that have to do with anything? Wait, what does that have to do with anything? You don't know all those cases. I don't know why you ever bring them up. The very first people into the building. Do you acknowledge that the very first people in were people that broke through the windows? We can watch videos on it if you want.
I don't acknowledge that because I don't know.
Okay, if you don't even know the first people in, how do you have any opinion about this at all?
How do I? If there's a pattern of things that very clearly lead to an assumption that there was something much dirtier going on, like cops letting people in, like video.
But you don't even know any of the. How can you?
Like this video that I saw from Tucker Carlson, which is like 0.3% of the full footage that the Jan 6 committee provided him. If I just watched I have looked into the J6 stuff. I've seen the spliced video of Tucker Carlson. Wise man playing Bedrock. Because we made this realm to get my friends wanted to get all the achievements on Bedrock, so we made this realm to do it. So yeah, I'm usually a Java player. I don't really like Bedrock, but welcome to the stream, Persian. Yeah, I'm just playing it so I can have something to do in the background while I farm YouTube React views. You
have a pattern if you don't know any of the underlying facts.
I do know the facts. I've seen the videos of security guards walking these groups of guys around the thing. And then why is the shaman? Why did he get let out of jail again?
Wasn't he convicted?
And then he got let out of jail when the full record of video footage came out. They just straight up let him out. When does that happen in the American justice system? We're like, oh, this guy's innocent.
I'm not aware of what you're talking about. The January 6th rioter was sentenced to 41 months in prison. I don't know what you mean about
let out. Tucker Carlson did the expose with all the full breadth of footage from the January 6th, and he was
the full breadth of footage. Did he? Was it really the full breadth of footage though, or did he very specifically only show a very, very literally less than 1% of the footage to misleadingly paint a picture of what happened?
Tucker Carlson did not give you the full breadth of footage. Tucker Carlson gave you a heavily edited, like 2-minute splice of him being led to the Senate chambers once the building was already broken into.
Enough footage for him to just be let out of jail a week later.
He wasn't let out. He served his time.
No.
Okay.
No, the shaman got released. And anyway, it doesn't matter. January 6th is a single incident, and my contention is that it's not. Trump certainly did not have any intention of leading some kind of riot insurrection into the Capitol. Like, if someone goes to the Capitol building and they attack the police, they should go to fucking jail. We agree on that.
Started rioting.
But you're connecting this, assuming that the Proud Boys did go in first. That is not on Trump as an insurrectionist because he was leading a protest that he never gave even a word of instruction that sounded like, hey guys, let's get in there and go fuck shit up. Let's take this place over. It's like
tweeting that Mike Pence should come through.
It's ridiculous. Everything that he said was the exact opposite of that.
No, that's what Trump said for basically his entire speech. That's almost exactly what he said. Yeah.
Then why didn't he get charged? Because they would have charged him.
What is having to get charged? That doesn't influence whether or not he said these things during his speech at the Ellipse.
So you think that the attorney general or whoever would have been responsible for prosecuting Trump at the end of the January 6th hearings, you think they just let him off the hook if he said something that equated to?
It's not about letting
violence?
somebody off the hook. Taking somebody to court and trying to charge them with a crime relating to inciting a riot, that's a really, really, really high standard, right? You're talking about the Brandenburg test here for a standard of whether or not you can criminally charge somebody. But whether or not somebody can be criminally charged because you don't know if you would like convict in front of a jury beyond a reasonable doubt doesn't mean a person didn't do a thing.
I didn't say didn't. Well, I don't think
you did. You just presented that as evidence. You were like, well, why didn't they charge him with a crime? Like Donald Trump has used so much rhetoric that was like very obviously like leading. I mean, everything that he said, the people walked from the speech to the Capitol building, and then the rioting continued, and people broke in. Like that's exactly what happened. Did this all just happen on mistake by accident? Like it just happened to be that people broke into the building and the certification got delayed.
Peacefully walked down to the Capitol. He never gave any instruction to go.
He said that
barriers.
one time, like 20 minutes into an hour-long speech. The rest of it was...
Where in the speech did he give instruction that said, let's go attack police officers and break into the Capitol?
He didn't say, let's go attack police officers and break into the Capitol, but he used speech saying that you have to get tougher, that if you have to fight, you're going to lose your country, that it's a corrupt election that was stolen, and that we can't allow these people... Quote, if we allow this group of people to illegally take over our country because it's illegal, when the votes are illegal, when they get the way they... when the way they got there is illegal, when the states that vote are given false and fraudulent information, like all of these things are about how the election has been stolen, they're stealing our country from us, that we have to fight like hell or we're going to lose something.
If I took the text of that speech and put it in Google, I bet you I could find identical verbiage out of the Democrats about the 2016 election 550,000 times. That is exactly what they said about 2016. And everybody acts like questioning election results is this brand new thing. I'm like, I remember when Gore and Bush did this thing with the hanging Chad and all that. Like, it's not.
Okay, I don't know where you want to go. Yeah, you live in it's like talking to my mom. You live in a fantasy world. You live in a fantasy world.
This is actually like talking to people in my family too.
That's okay. Yeah, you live in a fantasy world. Nothing that you're saying is true. Donald Trump gave a speech for an hour plus. He wanted there to be violence at the Capitol. That was the plan the entire time. We know that because of conversations that he had with private counsel beforehand, and we know because he sat and he watched the Capitol be rioted at for 3 hours.
And also because he started calling for protest on January 6th. He started calling for them on December 19th. Like this is planned like well in advance.
Hours, and he did nothing about it. People were outside chanting "Hang Mike Pence." He was evacuated from his office, and then he was evacuated to an underground bunker where Trump didn't even call he didn't even call him to check on him. Okay, and as he's down in his bunker, he's looking at his phone where Donald Trump is tweeting, "Mike Pence has failed us." Okay, he didn't do what needs to be done. Like the idea that this all just happened by accident, and the Democrats have done the same thing. No, they haven't. The Democrats have never led a mass protest insurrection at the Capitol building to circumvent the certification of the vote. That's never happened ever.
What about
and the idea you're going to string together
BLM?
some series of quotes from people and pretend that this is the same thing as Donald Trump giving an hour and a half speech about how every single swing state election was stolen. You will never find anything that is the equivalent of that. Even bringing up Gore v. Bush is a joke because despite the unpopularity of that Supreme Court case, they accepted the results of the election, just like how Hillary conceded the very night of the election to Donald Trump, as opposed to Donald Trump, who tried to win, who tried to claim victory the night before the votes had even been counted. It's not even close to the same thing. On every single factual level, you're completely delusional and off on the opposite on the end here.
I'll pose a counter vision of what happened on January 6th. So in 2020, the government mandated that everybody stay in their homes and not leave and do all the things that I can't talk about the shot ever again. But and simultaneously, we're turning on their television and watching BLM riders burn the cities down every single day. That was going on the entire year of 2020. That's all people saw. They looked, they're burning down the cities, burning down the cities, burning down the cities, burning down the cities. And so in an election where they literally changed the fucking rules for the election, because everybody's locked down, so now we got to do the mail-in voting, which may or may not be more secure, regardless of whether or not the election results were legit. I have no ability to verify or not verify these things. But to act as if it's a bizarre conclusion to come to in a completely changed environment where we're gonna make this less secure, we're doing this, it's because of this, and then people go to sleep the night of the election and Trump's up by a mile, then the next morning they're all, oh, hey guys, now we counted all the mail-in voting and look at this, dude, now Trump's losing. Like whether or not it's legit or not legit, to act as if it's a bizarre conclusion for them to have. So then
can I understand then? So you think that all the state election committees were rigged? All the state courts.
That's not what I said. Wait. I literally said I have no idea.
Hold on. When you say you have no idea, that's what you're saying.
He has no personal ability to verify it. He hasn't
because
looked
you don't
into
trust
it.
the states. You don't trust the state governors. Okay. You don't trust their. Hold on. Stop pivoting. I'm just asking you very clearly and very concisely. You think that every single state involved, we'll say at least the 7 swing states or whatever, all of these states lied, all of their courts lied, all of the federal courts that had to review them lied, and then the DOJ and the FBI, who are all, by the way, under Trump, all of these people lied as well. Every single person.
Is that what I said?
How can you not trust the outcome if you don't think that all these people lied? Because every single state and all of their state courts and then federal courts all reviewed a lot of this material.
I very clearly said that I have no ability to personally verify whether or not the votes are legit or not. What I'm talking about is the people marching on the Capitol and then ultimately there being violence at the Capitol.
Hold on, do you think that the results of do you think
you ever see the movies like where they put people into a movie theater and then they put the glasses on and they feed them like the images that's going to make them interpret the world the way it is?
Yeah,
it's like
called Fox
if you
News,
put people in their home, and show them nothing but people being angry and rioting downtown, this city, that city, and then they feel as though the election was stolen, and then now they march the Capitol, and then you have a handful of people that help with a little bit of incitement, and then they're going to explode. That's not Trump that did that. Like
Trump was literally inciting them the entire time. He called the people there. He did. Why did he call them there to protest? What are they protesting on January 6th?
Why does anybody protest anything?
No, hold on. Wait, does everybody protest randomly? What were they protesting on January 6th?
They were protesting that they were going to certify the election results where
Correct.
they.
And what was their goal? To stop the steal. What does that mean?
What they're protesting is the interpretation from them. I'm not there. I wasn't at January 6th, but they're interpreting it as this has not been convincing that this was actually investigated and that he did not have the election stolen.
Correct.
So
you're right. So they didn't believe the results of the election. So they went to protest on January 6th to change the results of the election.
Not to change the results of the election. They're protesting the
certification of the vote.
People protest.
That's an insurrection.
It's not.
It is. You're saying they don't agree with the results of the election because they think it was rigged, and they're going to go and protest it to quote unquote stop the steal.
Right. And so you're saying that this was a coordinated plan.
No one said anything about, well, it was coordinated because Donald Trump, they didn't go on January 5th, right? They didn't go on January 7th, right? They went there on January 6th to protest what you said.
People to protest, not to violently insurrect the government with no guns.
Protest.
Well, he knew they had guns when he sent them to the Capitol because the vast majority of the people that showed up at the Ellipse were outside of the secured area. The Secret Service told him there were people there with guns. That's one of the reasons why he wasn't allowed to go to the Capitol afterwards, even though he wanted to. And then he sent them to the Capitol to go and protest. What were they protesting? The certification of the vote. And what happens when they went there? They managed to delay the certification of the vote. What did Donald Trump do? He was calling senators saying, hey, maybe we should wait a little while longer to certify the vote. Everything plays into this one narrative of trying to stop the certification of the vote, stop the steal. That's what it was. It's like so obvious. Like every single part plays into this.
It's such a crazy interpretation.
Literally everything from the beginning. Hey guys, we're going to stop the steal. Everybody shows up on the Ellipse at January 6th. Hey guys, just so you know, the election was stolen. You need to fight like hell. You're going to lose your country. This election was illegitimate. We need to hashtag stop the steal. People march to the Capitol. They protest and they riot and they have to stop the certification of the vote, which was the steal. And you're like, and then Donald Trump is sitting in his office for 187 minutes for 3 hours, not calling National Guard or doing anything, watching them stop the steal. And you're like, bro, how could you possibly have this interpretation of events? What?
Because you're making one gigantic leap that's not even defensible in any kind of reasonable way.
What's gigantic
like
leap?
all the
what
way
the
up
hell
to
is
yes,
like a
they are there to
gigantic leap
protest. They are there because of this. Then you leap to Donald Trump organized them with the intention of them rioting. That's just not accurate.
Oh my God!
There's
he's the one that called them there to protest. He knows that, right? He knows that they were there because of Donald Trump. That Donald Trump was the one that called them there to protest. Does he not? Does he? Know
there's
that?
no like. There's not even like a line of dialogue that you could say that would even moderately hold up. The January 6th committee, literally, they went through every single thing. They tried everything they could to nail him to the wall, and even they couldn't come up with anything realistic about him inciting violence.
You can literally go through all of Trump's tweets before the day of. On January 5th, he tweets, I hope the Democrats, and even more importantly, the weak and ineffective rhino section of the Republican Party are looking at the thousands of people pouring into D.C. They won't stand for a landslide election victory to be stolen. What does that mean?
Right. He's saying that there's a lot of support for more investigation into whether or not he actually lost the election.
On January 6th, the rioters are there to investigate? It's just like, this is the most obvious thing in the world. So it feels like very weird to like pretend that this is a real conversation. Do you agree?
He did not.
Do you agree?
Do you agree? It doesn't sound lesson, but I'll try to hear you. Is it really that bad? It should not be that bad.
When you vote for president, you vote for a slate of electors who vote for president.
I feel like it was fine before,
right?
but
I know how this. Yeah, I know how that works. Yeah.
Donald Trump had 7 different fake slates made up in every swing state. He had fake slates sent from there to the Electoral College. And the goal was to have Mike Pence pick the fake electors. That was like the plan on January 6th. That's why he kept saying he can send it back to the states. That's why he kept saying Mike Pence can come through for us. Like, we believe in Pence. Like, Pence has to come through for us. Pence has to be strong. What he wanted Mike Pence to do was to choose the fake electors. That was the whole point of it.
I don't know anything about that. And I can't take anything as assuming that it's true, because the one thing that we have been talking about extensively, I can't see any reasonable conclusion that your conclusion is accurate.
Okay. Let's say that theoretically that was true. Do you think that that would be bad? Can we say at least that?
If Trump made fake slates and asked somebody to fraudulently just pick them, yeah, of course that would be bad. Okay.
That was when he said Mike Pence can come through for us. What do you think he was talking about?
I don't know. You said fight like hell meant that they should raid the Capitol.
No, wait. When he was asking Mike Pence can do what we need to do. What do you think he's talking about there?
In terms of commentary,
What I'm
who's your
saying is,
favorite commentator?
in
I don't
our
know if I have a
conversation
favorite
thus far,
commentator.
when you're attributing meaning to things that people don't say directly, I disagree with your interpretation. So I don't.
I like Destiny.
I, have no
I like
idea
Sam
what he's
Harris.
talking
I
about
like
with my picks.
No clue.
Yeah.
We just can't possibly know. Like, you know that, so for those fake slights, you know that like none of this is contested, right? Like this is all in open court. Like people have been.
I'm not going to pretend like I know about the story because I don't know anything about it.
Okay, like you can literally see. I mean, I can send you like there's like the fake slates have been filled out. All of that information is publicly viewable. That Trump's campaign, that Eastman Chesbrough and people working for Trump Giuliani were trying to organize, or they successfully organized.
Destiny, I think he does a really good job, like researching a lot of things and understanding them.
That was the whole point of January 6th
to
stop the steal was to get Pence to choose the fake electors,
or
to just reject all of us because there's competing elector slates.
I know nothing about that story at all.
Okay, well, let's say theoretically, let's say that was true, and he wanted Pence to choose the fake elector slates. And then he also sent a huge riot down to the Capitol to try to encourage Pence to do the right thing. Does it seem more likely that violence might have been like a part of the strategy to pressure the politicians there into choosing the fake elector slates?
I mean, if we're talking about, I mean, a dragon could have come and landed on the Capitol if we're just talking about like make-believe hypotheticals.
Okay. Well, every single thing I just said is beyond verified true. Like, it's not, nobody even contests this.
I mean, I don't know anything about it. And
yeah,
like
we're
I said,
big Voss fans here.
No offense, just trusting that your fact pattern and the things support your conclusions. In this conversation, I disagree. That's a nice piece back there. The shotgun. You shoot clay?
Yeah, skated trap.
Oh, great pivot. Nice one,
I don't know
dude.
what's near me, but
where do you live?
Miami Beach.
Oh, that is not what I would have guessed. I went to UFC 287 in Miami, and it was the first show that Trump came into the building for, and I was sitting in the front row.
Oh, please don't talk about anime then. I don't know if you're being serious.
In that close right next to it because
did I mention anime?
And all these NFL guys were there, and a few of them I heard them talking before,
okay,
before the show.
You're
and they
on
were saying,
thin ice right now. I'm gonna ban you if you don't stop
Trump, because they were worried about backlash or whatnot. And when Trump came in, the place literally.
I've big Voss fans. I was joking.
That bananas for anything. I've been to a million UFC shows. They cheered louder for Trump and longer for Trump than I've ever seen ever. And I looked over at the guys that had said it, and it's this look of bewilderment that I can't even describe. It's like it's like they were like, oh wow, I lived in this world where I actually believed everybody hates this guy, and now I'm faced with the reality that in this building, everyone not only likes him, they fucking love him.
Okay, nice one.
And it's like I've said to a lot of people, I'm like, listen, dude, I don't care what you think of the guy. If you were in the building and felt that energy of the collective, all that excited about him, you would get behind him just because it feels good to have everybody.
We'll do 1 minute, and then if he continues after,
you think that I don't know what you think actually about why people support Trump, but that's what it is. Humans are tribal creatures. Like we are supposed to find other like-minded people, tribe up. We battle against other tribes. It's just primal. And
yeah, I don't even know if
as much as like I disagree with people on politics, I really do see every single person in this country as an American that's on my team. Like I don't see like some enemy state on the other side. But the people who hate Trump, you guys do because you hate him that much. You dislike him that much.
Because he's un-American, yes.
But see, I think it's un-American to be flipping about an American who got shot in front of his kids.
That's there's nothing un-American about that. Americans have a wide range of views on violence and violent conduct or whatever. But the subverting the democratic process, fighting against like every single branch of government, saying you're going to be a dictator on day one. How do you feel when he says he has the right to suspend the Constitution to look for voter fraud?
He's joking. He's just joking.
Let me ask you this: do you think?
How does he not know about that? How does this guy have an audience? Does this guy engage in debates with other people, or is he only like talk to Destiny? I would assume like all of these things are talking points that would come up in other debates that he has with people. I guess he just doesn't debate other people or something.
A reasonable conclusion that his supporters had that there might have been widespread shenanigans in the swing states, given the circumstances.
Fabricated.
He should have done it with his fashion arc. He did go on a fashion arc, so.
Made by Donald Trump's campaign. And every single one of these major claims was a total and absolute lie. And you can follow the genesis of them all the way to the culmination.
His fashion arc did ultimately result in the taxes
or Powell or Fox News saying, we lied about this. That's why Fox News lost their Dominion lawsuit. That's why Giuliani and Sidney Powell said they lied and they settled with the states that they were fighting with. All of them did. Every single one.
Who are some of the worst commentators in your opinion? It'd be like Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson, people who have like actually lost in defamation lawsuits, who like knowingly lied. I guess Rudy Giuliani isn't a commentator, but he did also lose the defamation lawsuit. People who are like openly, I would say Ben Shapiro is basically openly bad faith when it comes to covering Trump and Kamala, because he's admitted to like grading Trump on a curve, like Yeah, I would say people who either knowingly lie, like Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones, or people who are openly bad faith, like Ben Shapiro.
That's why he
not
lost
talking about
62 out of
Giuliani.
63 of his court cases.
I'm not talking about those guys. I'm saying the citizens of the country who voted for Trump, given the circumstances, was it reasonable for them to be suspicious of the election results, given that the mail-in voting thing happened? Trump is winning when they go to sleep. They wake up and suddenly it's flip-flopped.
No, everybody knew that was going to happen. Every single person. People were talking about it beforehand.
Why did they know that was going to happen?
Because Donald Trump was telling his supporters from day one that mail-in ballots were going to be rigged. So they weren't going to participate in the mail-in ballot system.
Reasonable to be suspicious does not mean rejecting all evidence to the contrary. Like, it's fair to have reasonable suspicion, but that opinion has to change when you're presented with all this evidence to the contrary, as happened in the 2020 election. Like, we verified the election so many separate times through like so many separate channels. Like every like major claim of election fraud has been like totally and completely like totally debunked. That reasonable suspicion can't extend all the way to rejecting any claim to the contrary, to thinking that every single institution is totally and completely rigged and lying about the election results. Like, yeah.
The election was stolen? I don't know. I'm asking, like, on a personal level, each of these individuals.
I mean, you can have a little bit of suspicion, I guess, sure. But like all the states investigated all their stuff and everything came up green, every place they checked. So
would you understand, given the way that the Mueller report played out and that entire saga, why people would be not fast to believe any official narrative that came about related to the election, especially after COVID, where literally everything that they said all along the way ended up being not true?
First of all, that's not true. Everything, the Democrats of the left were far more accurate about COVID than anything the conservatives said. I'm still waiting for people to mass die from vaccines. I'm still waiting for the mass blood clots and the mass vaccine injuries and the mass mandatory vaccine periods and the mass vaccine passports. Like, none of this ever happened. So the conservatives were dead wrong on literally all of that. So I don't know where we have this idea that the liberals were wrong every step of the way.
So then when they introduced a bill in California that was going to invalidate all of the medical exemptions, meaning doctors said vaccines, you are especially high risk to be injured by a vaccine, they were going to invalidate all of those under the story that like someone was writing a bunch of fake ones. There was already a 97% vaccine adoption rate. There was no reason to do it whatsoever. My wife said that they were going to pass it. I was like, that's impossible. The entire basis of the mandates is to protect kids that have medical exemptions, and they fucking passed it anyway. And so we had the choice of either sticking 60 shots in each of our kids that have been determined by a doctor to be more likely to be injured by a vaccine, or leave the state, and we fucking let the state.
Justice to win, the example of cheat to win.
Actually,
okay.
If they added justices that they knew would, you'd have to prove like so many different levels of intent there. But it could potentially be that. Yeah, you'd have to prove that they were like, it was like some type of like coordinated plan. Yeah, like organizing justices, the appointment of justices in order with the like specific goal, the specific intent of being able to, of them having them rule a certain way in like election cases. But yeah, I mean, that could potentially be the case. Yeah. It's possible.
It's probably a good thing, right? I don't care what, like, whatever you make up for your kid is whatever you want to make up for your kid. But why would I want my kid to go to school with a kid who is running around as a fucking bioweapon because their parents don't want to get vaccinated for anything, right? This is why we have like measles and stuff coming back.
Why would it matter what they're around? They're vaccinated. They're safe. How would it possibly matter?
Because vaccines work via herd immunity, right? The idea that you could just vaccinate one person and they're automatically super protected from every single disease isn't exactly how vaccines work. It relies on like a certain percentage of the population being vaccinated. It relies on the viral load. So when you've got a bunch of kids that are just not being vaccinated because their parents have whatever political opinions,
again, adding justices with a specific intent to like overturn the election, no, has not been a talking point. But I mean, obviously, people on both sides have talked about packing the Supreme Court. I would guess that right now, Democrats probably are talking about packing the Supreme Court more than Republicans are talking about the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court has gone a little cuckoo crazy. But like just adding justices to the Supreme Court is not evidence of cheating to win. No, you'd have to prove a ton of things beyond that.
Kid around those people, right? They can be homeschooled or they can go to another state, I guess. It allows it to.
What does that have to do with California invalidating a kid who's immunocompromised from vaccines and telling them?
I don't even know what that means. An immunocompromised person sounds like somebody that would need vaccines more than anybody else. I don't know why immunocompromised.
We're talking about high risk kids, like kids who are high risk of being vaccine injured, had medical exemptions, so they did not have to take.
I would have to do more research. I don't know what that means. High
risk.
It sounds strange to me. If you're so immunocompromised that a vaccine would mess you up that bad, I imagine the COVID-19 would mess you up like way worse. That would be my imagination.
COVID's not even in this. It's not. We're not even talking about COVID. We're just talking about the vaccine schedule in general.
You're getting the vaccine to not get COVID, right? Or at least have an easier time dealing with it, right? So if you're immunocompromised, wouldn't COVID be worse for you than the vaccine? Like,
there are a lot of reasons why certain kids can be more susceptible to negative effects from the vaccine. You can acknowledge that there are people who have negative effects.
I haven't heard of that. Wait, they have more negative effects to the vaccine than the disease itself.
No.
I'm not aware of that.
There are people who have negative effects. Listen, I'm not an absolutist on vaccines at all. If you like, I know people who are like. If you ask me, is the society going to be better off if everyone's vaccinated or if no one's vaccinated? That's easy, of course. Vaccinated. I understand why they structure the system the way that they do for herd immunity, etc. What I'm saying is that the main problem with the vaccine structure is that they took all liability off of the vaccine manufacturers, and so they have no incentive whatsoever to make them as safe as possible.
I'm not voting for Cop Mullen. I'm not voting.
Well, how would they have no incentive?
Because they have no liability. If they
don't need liability. The company would go out of business if you made a horrible vaccine and it got. They would, because nobody would want to buy their stuff anymore. What do you mean?
No, okay.
Just because being sued isn't the only way you can go out of business, right?
Yeah. If a kid gets injured by a vaccine, the process that they go through is they go to like this secret government thing that they have to sign NDAs to get the payout. The taxpayers pay. The vaccine companies have zero liability. Literally, if a vaccine company was manufacturing a series of vaccines and somebody at the plant put Clorox bleach into a huge thing and 1,000 kids got killed, none of them can sue that vaccine company. That's a fact. They go to this court, and then the taxpayers pay it off, because in like the 80s, the vaccine company said that so many people were getting injured by the vaccines that it's not fiscally possible for us to continue to do it. So they wrote the bill, they passed the bill that took liability off of them.
Okay. Now, are you a military guy?
Uh-uh.
Do you think they should they not vaccinate like people in the military, like in basic training, or should you be allowed to have exemptions for that?
Completely depends on what they're vaccinating for and what the purpose is.
Well, they vaccinate a fuck ton of shit.
But no, I know. What do you think that they should mandate Navy SEALs to take the COVID-19 shot when they have no risk of getting seriously ill or killed by COVID? And again, COVID vaccine has no long-term studies.
You say no risk of. I mean, like, there's very little risk of the vaccine hurting you as well. Like, generally, the reason you get vaccinated is...
They have no idea. They don't know what the risk is because they have no long-term studies.
Billions of people.
Oh my God.
There's the idea of a vaccine side effect showing up in like 5 years doesn't even make sense, right?
Look that up.
There have been no vaccine side effects of any approved vaccine that showed up past 3 months of being injected. That's what I found when I looked it up.
Inaccurate.
Okay. All right, listen. Do you want to chat another point? We can. I have another show I have to do like 10 minutes. I need to run downstairs to my studio, but
all right, brother.
Yeah, if you ever want to argue about any particular topic. Also, listen, if you ever want to dive into any particular things, like you've got like a particular study, research, or like when we get into the weeds on things, because that's where I specialize. Let me know. Shoot me a link and we can go over it, okay?
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you, dude. This is fun.
Have a good one. I'll see you later. Bye.
Phenomenal. I'm going to make that my debate strategy. Oh, I don't know. I haven't. Well, actually, saying like, I don't know, I haven't looked into it can make sense sometimes. But holding strong positions on things that you haven't looked into, it's just fucking dumb.